Welcome to Tales by Jin. I'm Jin, and you're listening to the Tales of Lux and Cor Gwyndolyn series. This is Adolescence Part 3, the 6th episode in the series. Sit back, relax, and let yourself be whisked away as we return to the world of Tenebrae to follow Gwyndolyn on her continued adventures in the Dragon Wastes of Cor and beyond. It took some convincing to get the elders to call a meet on Gwyn's behalf. The first few times, they laughed her off without even bothering to hear what she had come to say in the first place. Gwyndolyn? The child of those two embarrassments? Nearly an embarrassment in her own right until she got her act together and started joining raids under threat of exile? That Gwyndolyn? Wants to call a meet? Get serious. Maybe the scale rot had gotten to her brain. Every time, Gwyn swallowed her anger and frustration and left the elders' communal cave wordlessly. She bore the jeers of other nearby kobolds as she left the clan's common grounds and returned to her parents' cave. And there she sat in silence, wondering how they could be so blind, so short-sighted, so totally fucking stupid. But on her 6th attempt, things went a little different. On the way out, on what would become her final attempt, Gwyn let a bit of frustration slip out. She paused at the mouth of the cave, sighed, then kicked the wall to her right. This, however, was no ordinary kick. While her thick and powerful thighs were more than enough to achieve a similar effect, such was their strength, this kick was infused with lightning magic. Just enough force to blast a chunk of stone out of the mouth of the cave, widening just that bit more, with enough flash to temporarily blind anyone that had the misfortune of watching directly Gwyn's latest walk of shame. Cracks spiderwebbed out from the crater, and dust shook loose from the ceiling as a deep crack-a-thoom thundered through the depths of the cave network. She very much had the rapt attention of the elders now. She repeated herself one final time in the silence born of her display.
Call a meet on my behalf. I, Gwyndolyn, wielder of lightning magic that admittedly had issue wielding said lightning, have discovered a new way to access and hone magic.
And then she walked away. Mere days had passed before the meet was prepared and word had been spread to all clan members to attend. Such was the effectiveness of Gwyn's display. And when the day came, she couldn't stop shaking. Her hands trembled as they folded her silks and stuffed them into her pack. Her silks. It was the first time she had thought of them as hers ever since she acquired them. Not a day passed that she didn't think of the wood nymph and the rest of her troop. They were killed for kobold survival. That's what the clan would tell her. And it was true, to an extent. The things they raided were necessary for survival. They were things that the wastes couldn't provide. But did they have to kill every... She shook her head. It was an old argument she had had with herself so many countless times. The clan was the clan. Kobolds were kobolds. She knew that. She was one, after all. But that was why this meet was so important. Maybe it was selfish. Maybe it was short-sighted. Maybe it was stubborn, foolish, stupid. But she had to try. Because if she didn't, she couldn't live with herself. Not like this. Not this way. She stuffed a few more things in her pack, nodded to her parents, and left her parents' cave for the last time. The form a meet took varied from clan to clan, but in Gwyn's clan, they took place in a cave that had been further hollowed out into a circular chamber with stepped walls for the viewing members of the clan to sit. These steps circled the entire chamber, except for the entrance and the point opposite the entrance. There, a separate viewing box was carved, and there sat the elders, and the shaman, and Chris. It had been years since she had seen him, and still she could not bring herself to look in his direction as she stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by her entire clan. If she didn't focus completely on keeping her composure stoic and calm, her body shook uncontrollably. Nerves, she told herself. She knew it was a lie, though. The weight of the situation was weighing heavy on her. She could feel every pair of kobold eyes, an entire clan's worth, boring into her. Murmurs pervaded the audience like the buzz of hungry locusts descending on a fresh crop. If she failed here, if she couldn't show them what she saw, convince them of what she learned, then they would. Gwyn, whispered, yet clear as a bell cutting through the surrounding din. Chris's voice. Whether it was real or her imagination, it was his voice in her head. It washed through her, and her body became still. She knew what she had to do, while she still had the nerve to do it.
Everybody shut up. I, Gwyndolyn, have called this meet because I discovered something that will greatly help the clan.
The murmurs continued, though more reserved than before.
On one of my raids, I found a way. I found these.
Gwyn fumbled with her pack, the shake coming back to her claws. The silk spilled out amidst the laughter of the crowd. Hastily, she scooped them up and kicked the pack to the side.
I found these silks. They're not the important part. They're used for. Was this really worth a meet?
A kobold in the crowd heckled.
If I wanted to see her embarrass herself, I'd have her scout on a raid for me.
Other kobolds laughed while the murmurs intensified. More insults were hurled her way, some in the form of small stones. The voices rose and rose until they reached a fever pitch, and only then did one voice rise above the rest.
Gwyndolyn!
Instant silence as the shaman spoke.
The elders told me what happened. Their account is the reason for this meet. Show us what you learned. Fail to do so and join your parents in the cave you favor so much.
Oh, it's that simple, huh? Gwyn shut her eyes as she slowly began to wrap the silks around her forearms. Fine, she'd show them. A fire grew in her belly as she tied the silks off and threaded them through her claws. The last thing she wanted was that woman standing up for her. The fires of spite grew in her belly until she had forgotten all about the meat, the jeers of the crowd, and everything else in the world. She opened her eyes, and in that moment all that existed was her down below and the shaman standing above.
Watch me then. I'll show you what I learned on my own when your lessons failed me.
Gwyn raised her arms, spun into the first form, and the fire in her belly blossomed into lightning radiating out through her every limb in the silks. The more she twirled, kicked, fluttered, and drifted, she lost herself further and further in the dance, and a sense of hope replaced the initial spark of spite that got her moving. She let herself go to the feeling and closed her eyes once more, letting the flow of her magical essence guide her to whatever display it desired. She felt the air around her as it grew more charged, possibly with the emotions of her audience, but more likely with the electricity she was putting out with her every movement. Naturally, they weren't destructive amounts. Dances weren't meant to be destructive. But it was more than enough of a display to show unequivocally that yes, the magically inept Gwyndolyn had done what none thought possible of her. Gwyndolyn the runt, the child of two embarrassments, born in a shameful clutch of two, mistakenly given the sacred element of lightning for her magic, had mastered herself. Coming to rest, breathing heavy from exertion but still controlled, Gwyn opened her eyes. The silks remained aloft, undulating around her and crackling with electricity. She maintained that as she spoke.
This is what I discovered. This is dance. While I was scouting, I discovered a group of outsiders that used magic in different ways, not just for battle. Using what I observed, I was able to... Useless. What do you mean, useless?
Shaman Kyrryn Jennifer stepped down from her place above the clan, down to the floor of the arena.
Simple. If this dance does not have battle application, it is useless and you are wasting our time. If it doesn't... you don't get it. You all thought I couldn't use my magic. My special lightning magic. You all wrote me off as a runt and a failure. My accident at the proving day as a fluke. But with this, think how many kobolds we could help use their magic when they thought they couldn't. Don't you think that's worth something? Not everything has to be about stupid fighting.
The shaman continued pacing towards Gwyn as she spoke.
If it does not make us stronger, if it cannot be used for fighting, for battle, for survival, it is useless to us. Magical or not, prancing about with lengths of cloth does not fill bellies. Kobolds starve as you twirl about. In order to host this meet, clan activities were halted this day. No raids, no salvaging, nothing. So you could come and show us some insipid dance you picked up from outsiders you should have killed on sight. You, Gwyndolyn, are the one that does not get it. You, Gwyndolyn, are even more of a disappointment than your parents.
Shaman Kyrryn Jennifer stood above Gwyn. Her hood was down, and the claws of her remaining arm flexed.
I pass my judgment. Gwyndolyn, formerly of the Shadowscale clan, you are hereby...
No! Time seemed to crawl as Gwyn, stunned as she was, looked up. Chris had left his seat and was running toward her, towards them. He had gotten a bit taller than the last time she saw him, though he was still gaunt as ever. But there was one glaring difference that wasn't present last time she saw him at their proving day. There was a shine in his eyes she hadn't seen since they were hatchlings talking excitedly about second names and starting their own clan. Head bowed, he spoke.
Please, Shaman, please, don't do this. Perhaps Gwyn didn't choose the best method of presenting this to you and the elders, but...
But nothing, Christopher. Be quiet and return to your seat. This is above your station.
Chris looked up into Gwyn's eyes. The tiniest curl appeared at the very corners of his mouth, then disappeared.
I will not. I believe you are making a mistake. Therefore, I, as shaman in training...
You will believe what I tell you to believe!
The shaman backhanded Chris with such force that he was thrown to the ground.
You will do as I instruct. You will cease this insolence and you will return to your seat, lest you embarrass us further.
Kyrryn raised her arm to strike Chris again, but when she tried bringing it down, it would not budge. A grayish-blue claw held her arm in place.
I won't let you abuse him any further. Child, release me now. Your very life depends on it. My life? Hit him again, and we'll see whose life is on the line.
Roars from the crowd became deafening as nearly every kobold called for Gwyn's exile, or worse. Some began throwing rocks into the arena, though none reached the three in the center. No one wanted to be the first to accidentally hit the shaman. I will give you one last chance. Release me and leave with your life. Fine. Gwyn released the shaman. They both lowered their arms, not looking away from one another as they did. Then the shaman turned her back to Gwyn and kicked Chris in the chest.
How dare you!
Was all she got out before a kobold-shaped bolt of lightning slammed into her side. Kyrryn tumbled along the ground a distance before getting her feet under her and clawing to a halt.
You insipid little hatchling. If you want to die so badly, so be it. But do not think this will go anything like your proving day.
Kyrryn threw aside her cloak, revealing a large, deep purple crystal arm in the place of the missing one. The sharp gems flexed and glittered in the torchlight of the cave, and they dug deep gouges into the stone as she bounded forward on all fours at Gwyn. She leapt into the air, crystal claw drawn back and ready to strike, when a voice rang out.
Stop!
Christopher threw out his claws and a wall of pale purple crystal erupted from the ground, bisecting the arena. The shaman's crystal claws struck it, and bits of deep purple crystal scattered across the surface of the wall. When she landed back on the ground, she found herself on one side of the wall, with Gwyn and Chris on the other.
Christopher, what is the meaning of this?
I'm not.
Chris took a few breaths as he clutched his ribs.
I can't let you kill her.
You can and you will. Dispel this wall at once.
It's fine, Chris.
Gwyn, body crackling with electricity, walked up to the crystal wall and laid her claw on it. A familiar coolness.
She might have a giant crystal arm now, but I'm not the same hatchling from before either.
Gwyn, no.
The way he said those words shook something in Gwyn. She really looked at him. He was gaunt, little more than scales and bones. Scars and bruises covered his body, markers of his abuse at the hands of his grandmother. Yet, he was pleading with her. He wanted the shaman dead no more than he wanted that for Gwyn. She couldn't understand.
Why?
She's my grandma, Gwyn.
As it dawned on her, the electricity left her body and the silks fell limp at her sides. Despite everything the shaman put him through, he still loved her. Gwyn couldn't understand it, but she knew, felt it in that no, that hurting her would hurt him. Gwyn couldn't do that. No matter how much she wanted to, she couldn't knowingly, willingly hurt her one friend in the world.
Okay, I won't.
She walked over to him and extended a claw towards his before thinking better of it.
But what now? What should...
She found herself cut off by the full weight of a kobold being thrown into her. Chris wrapped his arms around her as crystal tears clinked to the ground at their feet.
Gwyn, I missed you so much. I missed you. I wanted to see...
Slowly, her arms came up as well. She embraced Chris back and tried her hardest not to cry as well. She was unsuccessful.
Me too, Chris.
Me too. Release her and dispel this wall this instant!
Kyrryn bellowed from the other side. She struck at the wall with her crystal arm, but all that did was chip at her claws further. Chris's crystal truly was indestructible.
Gwyn, I'm scared.
Chris said into Gwyn's neck, his voice trembling.
I know. Me too.
What do we do?
We?
Chris sniffed.
Yeah, I can't let her out. She'll try to kill you, and you'll fight back. I don't want you to let her kill you, but I don't want her to die either. Deep down, she really does want to protect the clan. I know it, but I can't. We've gone too far, Gwyn. You're gonna be exiled if she doesn't kill you, and I won't let that happen. I don't want to be apart from you anymore. I missed you.
Gwyn pushed Chris back far enough for them to look each other in the eye.
Well, that simplifies things then.
What do you mean?
She grinned.
If I can't stay here, and you don't want to be separate from me anymore, we'll just have to do what we promised when we were hatchlings.
Chris blinked, then his eyes widened as realization dawned.
You mean start our own clan?
With you as my mate.
Gwyn, No.
The beating on the opposite side of the wall increased in fervor until the shaman's arm was reduced to a crystal nub.
You will not take him from me. You will not take him from us. He is our future. You will not rob this clan of its future shaman.
So, Chris, will you be my mate and start a new clan with me?
I mean, we're still young, and, well, do I have a choice?
You always have a choice. I just hope you'll choose me. Either way, I can't stay here. But you're welcome to come with me if you choose.
I do. I do want to go with you. Yes, I'll be your mate.
The pounding increased again as now the shaman was using both arms to break the unbreakable. Blood splattered the wall where her flesh arm beat relentlessly.
No, I forbid it. I will not allow it. Everyone on that side of the wall, do not let them leave this place.
Stirred into action by their shaman, the kobolds in the stands crawled down from their seats and swarmed the floor. Chris raised his claws to summon more crystal walls, but he found himself interrupted by being scooped up into Gwyn's arms.
There's no time for that,
she said with a grin.
Just hold on tight. You're about to find out why they put up with me as a scout.
With that, Gwyn bolted for the exit nearly as fast as the lightning she possessed. Any attempts to stop her were jumped over, ducked, dodged, and otherwise rendered moot by her speed and agility. As she approached the cave mouth, she noticed it shrinking. Willem stood next to it with a smirk, his claw on the wall. Fast as she wasn't going to make it through before it sealed shut. At least, that's what she thought, until the remaining gap filled with a familiar, pale purple crystal. She spared a brief glance down at Chris before launching herself at the crystal. With a snap, the crystal shattered to dust and they were outside. She didn't stop, didn't look back. Only once she was out of breath, and her arms and legs and lungs and heart screamed for rest, did she even consider slowing. And by that point, they were well out of range of any pursuit. Panting, she stumbled and collapsed forward with Chris, both of them tumbling to the ground. Coughing from overexertion steadily turned to laughter as they both lay there on their backs, looking up at the veil above. And then, as they turned their heads to look at each other, the laughter suddenly stopped.
We really did it, huh?
said Gwyn.
Yeah,
Chris whispered.
Grandma's gonna be pissed.
She's always pissed. Anyway, forget her. We're on our own now.
I guess I should.
Rolling to her side, Gwyn reached out and took Chris's claw in her own. She sighed as she looked into his eyes, which were avoiding hers.
I won't pretend to understand the family stuff. She wasn't very good to you, from what I saw. Can see right now, in front of me. But I'm also seeing now that me talking shit about her isn't really helping you. So I won't anymore. Because you're my mate now. Which means I'll protect you. And want the best for you. Whatever that means, for you. So if I'm doing something you don't like, make sure to tell me, okay?
Finally, his eyes met hers.
Okay.
They stayed that way for a while, lying beneath the veil, claw in claw, and eyes locked.
Hey, Gwyn,
Yeah?
can I ask you something?
Anything.
Can you teach me to be beautiful? Like you?
She touched her forehead to his, and a spark jumped from snout to snout.
Of course.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Tales of Lux and Cor, Gwyndolyn. If you liked what you've heard, please be sure to like the video and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to make sure you're notified when new episodes come out. Thanks for stopping by, and may your cave be ever warm.